eyes on the Capitol as we await Robert Mueller's highly anticipated report on the Russia probe. Could it be coming out today?
We'll see. But will the left accept the report if Robert Mueller finds no Trump-Russia collusion?
All right, let's ask Republican ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee and California Congressman Devin Nunes. Let's talk about another California congressman. It turns out Michael Cohen, who's dominated the scene for the last 2 weeks, according to our own Catherine Herridge, has met 4 times for a total of 12 hours with one-on-one with Adam Schiff. Were you aware of that? Aren't you supposed to be told about this, meeting with a witness before they testify?
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be shocking, right? I mean, they continue to do this. They met with Cohen. They clearly were trying to devise how they're going to roll out a new narrative. So the last 2 weeks was all about rolling out a new narrative. And despite, I think the major issue, despite all of that, they still came out with a fake news story that's now been debunked. Somehow that his testimony was changed, that was before Congress by Trump's lawyers. That's what the media went with. That was the narrative, but it ended up being a fake news story. So, no matter how much witness tampering you do, you're not going to find collusion in this unless you talk about the collusion that the Democratic Party and the Clinton campaign were doing with Russians.
Are you suggesting that there was witness tampering?
Well, probably not in a legal sense because, we're Congress, we're the legislative branch, right. So there's nothing illegal about talking to witnesses beforehand. But if you're running a real investigation, the way you would do it is Republican and Democrat lawyers would meet with the lawyers of whoever is going to testify. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it sounds like they were just meeting with the witness themselves. And this is, not a serious investigation, which it hasn't been since the beginning of this year.
John Brennan is predicting more indictments from special counsel Robert Mueller in this Russia probe, and he says some of them could involve President Trump's family members. Do you predict that?
I would find that hard to believe.
Why?
Well, look, what you're really looking at here is collusion, right? The whole point of this Mueller investigation was there collusion or not? And I've joked about this many times before, but it's like this mythical creature that's out there running around somewhere around the Capitol. You've got, dozens and dozens of reporters who spend all day looking for this mythical creature. The Democrats, they prance out a new mythical creature every day. The press follows it. But the reality is, even in the Mueller indictments, they make all these indictments read like something that's really going to be serious. This is really the collusion evidence, when the reality is the collusion is right in front of us, right? And look, there were prosecutors on Mueller's team, and even today, that are still there. Supposedly, right. I don't know if they're still meeting or not, but remember, these guys were meeting with the Democrats. They were taking in this Steele dossier, which was the dirt. So these guys were involved in this the whole time. They're part of it. The Mueller team is part of the collusion. So they were taking information that supposedly came directly from Russians.
Well, let's see what happens. Devin Nunes from California. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to be with you.
Ingram Angle tonight. The effort to suppress free speech across the country, it's not just happening on college campuses. The Democratic National Committee is now blocking Fox News from hosting any 2020 Democratic debates. DNC Chair Tom Perez says, quote, the network is not in a position to host a fair and neutral debate for our candidates. Really? Because there's no bias at the other networks, right?
Every night in prime time, Democrats are dehumanized. They are attacked relentlessly by Fox News primetime hosts. It was always hard for me to imagine a Democratic primary debate taking place in those hours when figures like Nancy Pelosi and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are constantly demonized and attacked.
Okay, I gotta just get this straight for a moment. Stelter says that Fox News dehumanizes Democrats. It's called criticism, okay? But that's what he says. But the liberal media on all the other cables, okay, their primetime hosts, they get a free pass to eviscerate President Trump every single night?
Donald Trump is saying and doing racist things.
Which brings us to the big man himself, the biggest liar of them all. And that is President Trump.
Donald Trump is a liar. We've seen him lie time and time and time again.
You have racism and sexism driving this president's voting base.
Well, joining me now is former DNC chair and former governor of the great state of Pennsylvania, Ed Rendell, along with Governor Mike Huckabee, a Fox News contributor. All right, Gov. Rendell, let's start with you. What the heck is going on with your party? Okay, Gillibrand, Klobuchar, they were just on this network. We have Juan Williams, all sorts of people on our network, the likes of which would not be as conservatives on places like CNN anymore. They've gotten rid of basically all their more pro-Trump, Trump-friendly contributors. So what's going on? Why are the Democrats afraid of Fox News? They're afraid of Martha McCallum and Bret Baier and Chris Wallace? Really?
Well, before I answer your question, I want to say hello to Mike Huckabee. Mike and I served as governors together, and we collaborated on a lot of initiatives when we both served with the National Governors Association. The answer to your question is, I don't know. I think it's a mistake for the DNC to do what it did. I know they were taken off a little bit by the New York article, but as you said, if I was DNC chair, and I think Tom Perez is doing a good job, but if I was DNC chair, Laura, I would say, give me Bret Baier, Chris Wallace, and Juan Williams, and you can have that Fox debate anywhere, anytime, any number of times.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Wallace, Martha McCallum, Juan Williams. I mean, take a group
I'd be confident it would be fair. Right.
Yeah.
If we could pick the commentators and the moderators, I think we should have the debate on Fox. Because let me tell you, even if you persuade 3% of Fox viewers, 3% last time out carries Michigan.
Fat chance. All right, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you're making a very valid point. Governor Huckabee, I want to play something else from Perez because he doubled down on this. The barring of any Fox News hosting of a Democrat debate. Let's watch.
This is about, and this New Yorker report was about interference at the highest levels of Fox News.
No, we read it. We read Mayor's
the news
report.
Side. I want to have 100% confidence that our debates, and the debates are the most important thing, some of the most important things we can do.
I get it. I just don't know how it helps.
The debates are focused on
I get that you want an assurance.
Okay, so no issues. I want to play one more thing for you. So one would be leading to believe that Fox just doesn't care about issues. The anchors aren't going to handle issues. Let's watch what we did in the last couple debates.
Will you promise that you will, and how soon will you move your clothing collection to clothes that are made in China and Mexico? You said several things in that debate which were not true, sir.
Do you think there should be any restrictions on the Second Amendment?
Can you definitively say tonight that you will definitely support the Republican nominee for president, even if it's not you?
Those are all examples, of course, of Fox News anchors being more than tough and probably fair with President Trump, candidate Trump.
Well, Laura, first of all, let me say hello to Ed Rendell. I wish he and I were running things because we got along great and got a lot of things done.
Yay.
By golly, we should be in charge. Ed, great to be with you, but let me get right to the point. I've been on the presidential debate stage 2 different times. Well, actually many times, but 2 different election cycles. One thing people forget, it's not the venue for the networks. It really is the venue for the 2 parties. Now, I'm going to be like the contrarian here, and I think Tom Perez is making a mistake. I do agree wholeheartedly with Ed Rendell. There ought to be a Fox access to Democrat candidates. But here's what I would say to both the chairman of the Democrat and Republican committees, Ronna McDaniel and Tom Perez. Take charge of the debates. These are your debates for your candidates. I think the whole process is totally ridiculous and out of control, and it is in need of a great blow-up, and there should be a complete restructuring of how they're done, and the parties need to control the debates in terms of the time, the place. They ought to pick the people who ask the questions because it's turned into a TV show, not an honest forum. The questions are often ridiculous and insulting. And I would love to be able to give both political chairmen an earful of what they could do that would help their own parties get their message out to their voters.
Yeah, no, I think that's a brilliant point. Local reporters are often better as well.
Way better.
At doing some of these interviews on these big issues, not to take anything away from the big names, but I like some of the local reporters' input. Governors, I also want to get your reaction to the big news of the day here in Washington. The House voted overwhelmingly to approve a broad resolution calling out racism and anti-Semitic comments without naming Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Ed, the Democrats seem to be I don't know. They don't want to name her, despite the fact that that's what brought this whole thing up. Obviously, initially linking Jews to money, and then talking about certain people having a divided allegiance to other countries. Should have been restricted just to the anti-Semitism. A lot of Jewish Americans, at least on social that I'm reading tonight, are pretty outraged.
I think it should have focused on the anti-Semitism, and it should have said that Congressman Omar made a mistake, because she did make a mistake. As an American Jew, I can tell you the thing that's most cutting to me is when people talk about Jews and money and the Benjamins and us being sneaky people who control things by our money. That, to me, is the worst slur you can make to a Jewish person. Now, Congressman Omar has some good points when she talks about what's going on and the way the Palestinians are treated, but she should make those points substantively. There's no place for name-calling in any of our affairs, whether it be domestic affairs or international affairs. We should make our points and rest on the strength of our arguments. So I would have liked her to be named as having made a mistake that triggered this thoughts of anti-Semitism, condemn anti-Semitism, and then later on we could condemn all sorts of hate speech and all sorts of.
I watched the C-SPAN debate. I watched the C-SPAN debate. Governor Huckabee today. It turned into basically, at least on the Democrat side, kind of a Trump bashing fest. So it was about the migrants and how they're treated. I mean, it got expanded into all these other topics. And remember, Steve King lost a committee chairmanship and committee appointments in the wake of making, his racially charged statements. I mean, they threw the book at him. So why aren't Democrats doing the same thing for Congresswoman Omar, especially when what we're seeing over in Europe with the Labor Party getting just humiliated due to anti-Semitism? We have anti-Semitic floats and carnival parades in Belgium. I saw today, also online, disturbing images of Jewish Americans in Europe.
Well, I just got back from Poland this morning, and one of the things that I was doing there was to participate in the ceremony for the Righteous of the Nations. Polish Christians who helped save Jews during the Holocaust. I think people need to understand that anti-Semitism is not just about rhetoric. There's a long history of people being brutally and savagely murdered in cold blood. And we're not just talking about military combatants. We're talking about innocent men, women, children, and older people. It's a horrible thing, and it needs to be addressed. And I think Nancy Pelosi, and I have to give her some credit, she's trying, but she's got her hands full with some of these young Democrats who really don't understand what I'd call basic playground manners when it comes to getting in a public office. And it's creating some real problems for the Democrats. As a Republican, I could take some glory in it and some joy in it, but I don't, because it's bad for the country. And that's not good for anybody.
Governors, thank you so much.
In all due deference, I just want to say, don't give the Republicans too much credit for what they did to Steve King. It took them 10 years to get around to it.
All right, Governors, thank you very much.